Welcome everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining us for this prepping for 2023 live panel discussion with all of these amazing guests, all these amazing channels. Hello everyone.
Hello.
Good to be here.
Good evening.
What's
Hi.
going on?
So I would definitely like to welcome all the guests. Thank you, each and every one of you, for taking the time to come out tonight. All the folks on the panel have channels, they're content creators, and the links to their channels are in the description box. So if there's any you're missing, please go ahead and join for their great content. You will not be disappointed. Thanks to all the people who are joining us in chat. And any of the moderators, and then also anyone who's catching this on the replay, thank you very much for your time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around, and just in case anyone hasn't met you yet, please just introduce your channel and people can learn a little bit more about you. How about Lee? Can you please go first?
Sure. My name's Lee, and I go by the Cold War Prepper. And the reason I go by Cold War Prepper is because I started prepping during the Cuban Missile Crisis way back in 1962, and been prepping ever since. Of course, my focus back then was nuclear. Now, it's come around full circle, and it's coming to nuclear again. So, Pete.
Okay.
But I guess my focus on my channel is I try to be a little bit more on the positive side. I don't do news or anything else like that on a regular basis. I may let you know on an exceptional basis that there's something happening, but I like to look for solutions. And so how can I be positive and help people and encourage people that this is something you can survive and we can all do it together.
Thank you so much, Lee. And somebody in the comments has mentioned that there's a bit of an echo, so if anyone has any extra stuff on, or if you want to mute if you're not talking, that'd help, but otherwise all is good. How about you, Prepping by Faith?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation to be here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. So I'm Prepping by Faith. I've been on YouTube for nearly a year now, the end of this month. My channel, focuses on a lot of the current events that we're seeing and solutions to prepare for the things that we are facing. I live in the suburbs of Colorado, so I see preparedness through that lens. I'm no expert. I always tell everybody that on my channel, but I do share, what I've learned, challenges that I faced, mistakes that I've made, and strides I'm taking towards being better prepared. So I also share encouragement through the word of God and hope in the eternal salvation that we have through Christ. And the goal of my channel is really to motivate others to begin preparing if they haven't started, or to continue to push forward in preparing for all scenarios and all aspects of preparedness, including, spiritual, mental, and physical.
Thank you, Prepping by Faith. Sugar in the Attic.
Well, good evening. Again, thank you for having me on here. I'm Sugar with Sugar in the Attic Homestead. And on my channel, I share ideas so people can be prepared and plan for self-sufficiency. I try to keep it on the light side. I do a lot of cooking videos, and I have a realm of expertise, maybe gardening. I'm not an expert in anything, but I try to give solutions to everyday problems.
Awesome. Thanks. X24.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Marcus, and I own the X24 Reviews channel. My channel is basically focused on preparedness reviews and looking at products and things related to preparedness. Early on, I was more focused on preparedness, but now I've shifted towards the review side of things. But I haven't been on in a little while, but I do plan on making a return here pretty soon. So I appreciate everybody who's stayed with me throughout this.
I look forward to more great content from you. Nene.
Hi, thank you so much for the invite once again. And I'm Nene from Nene's Prepping Kitchen. And on my channel, you will see walkthroughs, because I am trying to be on top of these prices that keep continuing to go higher. and also not only that, but to see what we have on the shelves, what we don't, you know, the things that aren't coming in through the supply chain. I also do pantry hauls, showing how to find deals, save money, and foods and supplies to put, on your pantry shelf along the way. Also do good old pantry cooking meals to make from, meals that you can make from your pantry, and dehydrating and canning, and food storage, dehydrating, vacuum sealing for long-term shelf staple foods.
That's great. Thank you so much. How about Pete?
Hey everybody, good evening. I'm Pete. I am the roaming prepper. Those of you who follow me know I am on the road in flights, traveling around constantly. I'm a professional engineer. I've actually done that for 25 years, but I also have been in the corporate world. So I love to give a perspective, not just from travel preparedness, which is its own challenge, but looking at how businesses react when things happen in the world, because typically they tend to be canaries in the cave. They see things before the rest of us do. And being able to put those kind of pieces together between what you see in the news and what you watch in the street and in the field, in the companies, it's very interesting. But other than that, I'm excited to be here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And Prepper Dog.
Good evening, everybody. Hey, I've been at this, I guess, about almost 2 years now, and I focus a lot on current events and how we need to be preparing for what is going on or what we think is coming towards us, especially from a Christian point of view. We also do gardening videos as well, especially in the spring and summer. Mrs. Dawg is an integral part of that. And also try to share a verse from the Bible that will offer some encouragement and hope as well during each video.
Love those. Those are great.
Thanks.
Digital.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on. So I started, I'm the digital prepper. You can either call me digital or TDP, whatever that you want to call me. So I started my channel about 2 years ago now, just because looking at, certain topics regarding preparedness, I always saw the same kinds of stuff. So I, thought that my being in the information technology field for about 14 years now, I wanted to try and integrate technology into my preparedness plans. So essentially my channel, I go over mainly how we can utilize technology when preparing and how to use it in your everyday preparedness, like data management, like keeping your paper files stored digitally, VPNs, things of that nature. I also look at current events regarding technology, like cyber attacks on critical infrastructure and various like data breaches if they affect us, how we can prepare for these or protect ourselves if we're affected by them. And overall, I just kind of want to teach old and new preppers in a way that everyone can understand, because I know technology can be kind of a complicated subject. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. You offer a very unique perspective to this, so it's really appreciated. And the screen is kind of shifted, so Sassy Gal is not forgotten, but there's been some moving. Would you like to go ahead?
Sure, I'm just along for the ride, y'all. I am Sassy Gal. My channel, Sassy Gal Preppin'. I have been at this, I think, about 1 year and 3 months, actually. I am in Northern Virginia, so I'm over here on the East Coast where it's late. It's about my bedtime, I think. I am the home of $5 Fridays, and we started that. That really took off the last quarter of last year, and that's an open challenge to anybody where you can just try to find $5. Anybody can find $5, and you can go and buy things for your prepper pantry or supplies or just for your home. Anybody can find $5 and you can still find deals out there. But my channel is kind of basically a learn with me. I try to show you how you can save money by using grocery apps, where to find items, that you can get on sale, kind of like Nene. We could going around checking the Walmarts and everything. And then just get everybody thinking and talking about the hard topics. We're going to be doing more of that this year with Sassy Saturdays coming. So, yep, that's my channel. So come check me out.
Sassy Saturdays. And so Sassy Gal and Roaming Prepper are both on Instagram as well. And I know, Roaming, aren't you on TikTok or something? Aren't you like famous over there?
Yeah, I'm not sure what I did. I have 30,000 followers on TikTok,
awesome.
and I have no idea how I did that.
Wow.
I went from 1,000 to 20 in a month, and then I got insulted by a bunch of people. I got shadow banned, but I'm still there, so it's been interesting. Very young demographic on TikTok. That's been interesting to experience.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, as you know, if you've been here before, there's two of us on our channel, and we like to talk about hazards and aviation stuff, and we're in Northern Canada, so just a variety of topics. So the next thing we'd like to talk about here is we'd like to talk about what's on our radar, or what types of concerns do each and every one of you have for this upcoming year. Lee, would you like to start?
Every time on my MacBook, every time I go to unmute mic, it gives me all the options to bring up all my other tabs. But anyhow, I'm kind of looking at Ray Dalio's, Rise and Fall of Empires, and I'm also looking at Peter Zian's The End is Just the Beginning. And so when I take a look at all those mega trends, if you will, it looks like it's time for the U.S. empire to decline, and it appears that the Chinese empire is coming up. So that's going to have financial implications. It's going to have manufacturing implications and trade implications. A lot of different possibility of conflict. So I think that's what I'm looking at is we're seeing this transition at the macro level from one empire. And remember, most empires in history, except for Rome, only lasted 250 to 300 years. And, Rome lasted 900. So we're right at that end point. So that's kind of where I'm focusing right now is what are we going to do as far as economics, military, manufacturing, trade, food and food production, medicine, all that kinds of stuff.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Prepping by Faith.
So what I see coming for 2023, I feel like is, more of the same, but perhaps, elevated by a notch or two. So I definitely see more inflation in the food and energy sectors, more layoffs as these companies try to grapple with these elevated costs, increase in crime from petty theft to violent crime, and really the continued efforts of the global elite to sort of try to rein it all in through these, more control measures and laws and regulations, mandates and restrictions. Then, of course, there's also the central bank digital currency trials that are going to be underway this summer. And, of course, the potential for global conflict, as well as another disease outbreak of some sort. So I think a lot of us are focused on, some of these new variants that are coming out. But I also think that there is a possibility of something different sort of coming out of left field at us, like this severe epidemic enterovirus respiratory syndrome that they've been practicing for. And when I say all of this stuff, it sounds kind of apocalyptic and world ending, doesn't it? But I think that what we have to understand is while there is a potential for all of these things, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the world around us, we don't put our hope in this world. You know, there is hope through the word of God. And even if you're not a Christian, trying to dwell on things, you know, that have more positivity and learning to speak positively has more power, I think, than we realize. You know, the Bible tells us that the power of life and death is in the tongue. So if we are constantly speaking about all of the negative and we're not trying to temper that with anything positive, then that can be sort of a really ugly spiral. So what I really appreciate so much about all of the channels that are here tonight is that all of us, you know, try to be solution based, and we offer what we can to really encourage people without shattering their hope. And there really has to be that balance.
Well, thank you. Great insight there. Sugar. Oh, yeah,
Oh, there we
go.
go. It's like my mouse just died, and so I'm trying to do this by touch. Well, what I'm looking at for 2023, the concerns I have are crop production, which would be food, and battling the weather. I know we can't do anything about the weather, but it does affect the crop production and it affects food. And the way I look at it is everybody eats, so we need to be concerned about the food, how much there is, but also when the shortages are here, and they have been going on, how much is it going to cost? How much more is it going to cost? I hear on the streets 40% plus more on top of the current prices, and that's what really concerns me the most about 2023.
Thanks for sharing that, Sassy Gal.
Sorry, I had to unmute. I'm glad I'm next, because what Sugar just said was basically kind of one of my first concerns is the you know, the food, the scarcity, the price of it, the limits, the what's going to be happening with the American dollar, the illnesses that are out there, things that are making a comeback, like certain face coverings, and just the general unrest out there, just because everyone is so stressed with the energy costs and, you know, having to decide between paying an energy bill or buying dog food, you know, and just how that affects everyone mentally. And so that's, you know, I like to have the hard conversations so that we can work out solutions, so that we can address our fears. We can find out where the fears are really based from, and then go from there, how to find solutions with that. And then the other thing that's really been bugging me a lot is just, I feel there's a lot of escalating persecution of people who are standing up for the truth. And that can be just anyone, that could be, you know, conservative, or it can be religion based, just, you know, anyone that is speaking out, you know, having an opinion, but just in that sense, just that kind of, it's just been escalating. And even though there's some things that have changed, you know, and Twitter has changed hands, and, you know, maybe free speech is making it come back out there, it's just the whole thing of just there's just this escalating attack that you have to keep going to other areas to get your message out, other platforms, other ways. And so anyway, that's just been on my mind a lot. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Nene.
Okay, mine kinda is pretty similar to Sassy Gal there, you know, and it's concerning with the, you know, the rising prices of everything, you know, everyday things that we need in, you know, not only food, but, you know, we have our dog food or cat food, just about everything, you know. When is it going to be where it is too unbearable, you know, to be able to actually get the things that you need to survive, you know, including medications. You know, right now there's medications that are hard to find, you know, your Tylenol and ibuprofen, you know, for kids and even adults, you know. So, and now they're talking about you may not see bread, you know, in your canned foods and pet foods on the shelf. So that is a big concern, you know, so.
Yeah. Thanks. Pete.
Well, if you look at what the companies did in this last quarter, the tech companies, Twitter, Amazon, a lot of them laid off, what, 10,000 people apiece. You're listening to a lot of these corporations, and I love following them because they have entire teams of people. This is all they do. And then they make reports that we can find and read. Every company is saying we want to be in cash flow. We want to be low leverage. And what that's code for is we're going to pay down debt. We're going to have cash because we're going to take a hit. I'm afraid those are harbingers of what several of you have already said. We're going to see the economics of society, not just in the US, but across the world, really going to take a dive, I'm afraid, this year. We haven't fully seen the effects of all the chicken cullings and the lost crops and the floods, droughts, fights. The real effect of the Ukrainian war, we haven't seen all those food effects in the supply chain. We're just now noticing eggs are getting expensive. You know what I mean? We're all looking at it. The general public really is just not understanding. I think we're going to see the economics of society take a nosedive at some point during the year. And as Lee pointed out, that'll precipitate stress between countries. And that's when you might see an extension of conflict. I would do what they're doing. I would try to get in the cash position, try to not get into any debt if you can. A lot of folks talked about grocery shopping, stuff like that. I think the economics are going to cause a lot of other issues. And if China's economy opens up, the price of fuel is going to take off. And that's just going to add fuel to the fire.
Well, that all sounds on point. How about you, Prepper Dog? What are your thoughts on the matter?
Similar to a lot of you guys, I think that first thing I think of is the economy, and that we are definitely in a recession that could possibly go into a depression. That's very possible. Food prices, big concern. Of course, I know that's been mentioned already, you know, we could see a dozen eggs cost over $12 soon. You know, you could see $10 for the cheapest loaf of bread out there on the rack. You know, so or more than that. So that will cause a lot of other issues, food scarcity. It could increase crime, theft, shoplifting. You could see organized rings go in and try to ransack Walmarts. You know, I mean, it could really get that bad. So that's my concern. Crime, speaking of crime, that is a big one on my radar too, is that we're starting to see that increase in places that you don't normally hear about, in towns that you never really, you know, are not in the news that much. So that's something that I think we all need to take into account when we're out and about. Other than that, the central bank digital currency, that they're going to try to run that in, you know, on us, I believe, and that'll be interesting. So we need to prepare for that. Banks, I'm hearing about banks being, you know, possibly in trouble. The FDIC, possible bank runs. So I mean, there's so much. There's a lot, you know, that could bite us. So yeah, a lot to keep up with.
Thanks, Prepper Dog. And Prepper Dog does talk about these topics on his channel. If you happen to not be subscribed yet, the link's in the description, as well as all these other channels that cover these topics on a daily or weekly basis. The videos come out, so do make sure to check them out if you haven't. The Digital Prepper, what would you like to add?
So I do agree with, you know, with things that everybody has said so far, you know, with the economy kind of tanking, what Roaming was talking about with the tech companies laying off, you know, thousands of workers. Yeah, I mean, there's also the quality and the quantity of, like, just general products like meats and other stuff that are kind of going downhill, as well as I've seen like a lot of recalls on products, like mushrooms and meats and other stuffs. But kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent, one of the things that I've kind of been looking at are the kind of rise of like scams and bad actors that are getting into more of the critical infrastructure that is linked in our supply chain. So such as, like our water treatment facilities. There was that attack on the Colonial Pipeline that, kind of shut down oil for a large part of the United States, and people were, freaking out, like just kind of causing mass chaos. And, just kind of these hackers are getting more and more grandiose with their attacks. So, it's not just a thing anymore of, having to look out for your identity, like for like identity theft type stuff. But now you have to worry about them. You have to prepare for, just in case something large on that critical infrastructure gets attacked, like a like a water treatment facility, and them raising like levels of chemicals in the water, making it unsafe to drink, or them hacking like oil pipelines, making it so that gas prices rise, or you just don't have the ability to get oil in certain places. So yeah, that's like one of the main things that I've been kind of looking at. Kind of a little bit of a tangent, but it's still just as important.
Absolutely. Thank you for explaining that. And X24.
All right. So could you go ahead and repeat the question for me? I want to make sure that I don't go off too far on a tangent.
Oh, yeah. So at the moment, we're just talking, and yeah, anyone who's also just joined us, we're talking about some of the things that are on our radar for this year, or things that are concerning and that we're thinking about. And then next, we're going to talk about some ways in which that we are preparing for those things.
Okay, cool. All right. So first of all, as we all know, recently they just signed a new spending bill into law, right? And so I think it's safe to say that we're guaranteed that inflation is going to continue, but also potentially rise. And that is both parties are at fault for that, because neither of them did a single thing to protest that or to try to go against it. It seems like, and at the snap of a finger, they both just went ahead and signed it without any question. So I think it's time that people start to get away from the division of the double party thing, and I think we should focus more on our communities and our people and our groups that are like-minded. And we really need to maybe take things a little more seriously than to spend all of our time on the internet fighting with each other, because what they just did is they've guaranteed inflation's going to stay and get worse. And then on top of that, they're not addressing any of the shortages, any of the labor shortages that are out there. So I think we are in for a wild ride, and this could just be the start. But essentially, they've guaranteed that this is going to continue. The other thing I want to touch on is a lot of things that one thing that's really alarming to me that has came up is taxes, like property taxes, and the cost of energy. So some of the neighbors in my area have mentioned that their houses have become more valuable or whatever, or I guess in 2022, 2021, they became more valuable. So their property taxes have gone up a lot, and also their energy costs have gone up a lot. Now, luckily, I believe you can protest that. And because Texas is a non-disclosure state when it comes to like the price of your home, you can protest that, and there's still something you can do for the most part about that. But just be mindful that you don't actually own your house. You're still paying the property taxes on it, and they have the ability to go ahead and raise those things at their own will. So just be mindful of that, because that could put people in a very dire situation. So those are the biggest things on my radar right now. Of course, everything else that everybody on the panel had mentioned is important, and definitely on my radar as well. But those are two of the biggest things.
Well, thank you for explaining that. That really adds a lot to what the discussion is at this point. And I also wanted to mention um, Lori's Thrifty Kitchen Pantry is here. Thank you for joining us tonight, Lori. And Lori is saying, I'm really concerned about the banks and digital currency. I live paycheck to paycheck, so I won't have a choice but to go along with it. Yeah, that's definitely on a lot of people's radar. That's a very good point. So everything you guys said is my answer. No, things, like the escalation of the Ukraine-Russia conflict, food price increases, food scarcity, crop shortages, large global layoffs of workers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's so many things. So we are now going to pivot into what are some things that we are doing or prepping, ways we're taking action to work towards, being in a better position if and when some of these things occur. Lee, would you like to start?
Not really, but I will anyway. So one of the things I'm doing is converting. I'm withdrawing a bunch of money out of my accounts. I'm cashing out my 401k totally, and putting that into precious metals. We don't have any more room for any more prepping. Yeah, I've been doing this for 60 years, so we've run out of room, and we're at the point now to where all we're doing is replenishing things that we're doing in our stock. We're focusing on making sure all of our stock is up to date. We're eating 2015 things that are marked right now, so getting rid of those and trying to get up to date. The other one is I'm installing another 10 solar panels on the roof. When they installed them originally, they installed them to 90% of average electric consumption, which sucks, to be totally honest with you, because that means in the summer, I won't be able, if the grid goes down, I won't be able to power my air conditioner. I need 90% of peak, not 90% of average. So I'm increasing my solar production by 50% and getting as much cash as possible, as much precious metals as possible, and hopefully going to get the wife and daughter out to the range and make sure that they can hit the target effectively.
Thanks for sharing that. Prepping by faith.
So I think that people, really need to focus on becoming as, recession proof as they possibly can. And to do that, we really need to focus on paying debt down. I don't really like that phrase, getting out of debt, because it makes it sound like it's something that you can just do so easily, like just wave a magic wand and it disappears, right? And if it were that easy, I think that, none of us would have any debt to begin with, right? So I think it's important that we really start, making those strides toward doing that. And it becomes difficult sometimes if you feel like there are things that you still need to acquire at the same time, like your food and your filtration systems and your gear and all of those things that are important to you. So the only way to really effectively come at it, in my opinion, is to set a budget and then allocate a percentage of your resources towards both paying that debt down and also putting aside preps. So if you're completely strapped, you're to the point where you don't feel like you can do either one, I really think it's time to start thinking about what you're really good at and further developing those skills so that you can bring in more cash flow. It's a topic that most people really don't want to discuss because it's pretty basic. But if your expenses exceed your cash flow, then you have a real problem. And with any problem, there's always going to be a solution. So our family is actually experiencing this right now too. So I'm not sort of, finger pointing at everyone else. With the cost of utilities increasing by over 100%, and then witnessing our grocery costs, already increased by 50% last year. Something has to be done to sort of combat that. So one of the things that we're doing is trying to cut back on some of our spending, which I talked about recently on my channel. One example of which was just sort of watching how much I'm actually acquiring in these clearance purchases. Because if I overspend on items that are such a good deal, right, and I have too many, then is it really a good deal anymore? And another example is sort of reducing what we're spending on our children as far as their birthdays and Christmas, and really cutting those purchases in half. And the final thing that I'm really considering is getting a part-time remote job from home. There are always things that we can do to reduce our expenses and increase how much we're bringing in, but they're not always going to be easy things to do, and anything that you can learn to do, whether that's cutting your family's hair or pet grooming or making basic repairs to your appliances and your vehicles or learning how to grow food. Those are all things that are going to help reduce your expenses. And we all know that the cost of labor is really what we are paying most heavily for. So being able to hold on to that by doing the things ourselves is going to be really beneficial. And the other thing that I would add is that when you're setting goals for yourself and, things with, paying your debt down, acquiring the things you still need, learning the new skills, make sure that you don't have too many going at once and that you're, taking baby steps towards achieving those. If you have too many of them or you have unrealistic goals, then it becomes much harder to sort of stay focused on completing them. And I would also suggest, sort of visualizing those by writing them down, really get in the habit of checking those once a week and then seeing which ones that you can check off. And really, that sense of accomplishment is going to be motivating in and of itself.
Wow, that's great. Thanks for explaining all that. And you mentioned pet grooming. Secret Stuff has a video where he shows how he trims his dog's nails.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah. Sugar, how about you?
Well, I had concentrated on production of food. And what I'm looking at is alternative ways or diversifying the ways that I grow food. Could be in a greenhouse, in the garden, excuse me, hydroponics, a sunroom in the house. However, I can grow food in different areas. I'm investing a lot of time, not much money, but a lot of time in the soil. We've been at the same place for 29 years. So the soil is built up to the point that it's like black gold. You just go out there and pick it up. And, I see a lot of people down the road in different towns and they'll bag those leaves and they'll throw them away. And I'm thinking, you don't know what you're throwing away. You're throwing away gold. The price of food, like I said, I heard, and I've listened to a lot of different experts, and it says 40%. Well, budgets just can't handle another 40%, not unless you're a multimillionaire or a billionaire. You just can't handle another 40%. And everybody eats, or they need to. Another thing that I'm implementing and I'm doing some videos on is rationing, which means look at the back of the can and see what the serving size is. Normally people just dump whatever they want in a bowl. It's like, oh yeah, that's good, I'm going to eat all that. But if you look at the serving size, it could be half a cup, a third of a cup, whatever it might be. And that's a form of rationing without being very strict. So I'm looking at alternatives and of growing food, saving food, and also rationing food. Start now. I mean, I started a couple of years ago, really watching the portion size. And I know some people call it a diet, but that's not what it is. It's going to be rationing.
Well, that's a neat way of explaining it. And, I think a lot of times we eat too much anyways, so it helps in that regard as well. Sassy Gal.
Well, I like what Sugar just said because that is, we think alike. Because I have a video coming out this Saturday for Sassy Saturdays that addresses this rationing and going without. And, I was just saying that this, how everything that we're experiencing and how it affects people mentally, this actually does help us doing things like this and experiencing smaller portions, and you're going to be okay. Or ways to stretch the food as well. So you can start with a smaller amount, make it go further. But same kind of thing, learning new skills, growing foods, preserving foods, stocking up again, keeping all of that going. But just, getting with the family and kind of having a family meeting and talking about, preparing, I guess, for the thought of having to either go without the comforts. I mentioned something about coffee in my video, and, we all like coffee, and but not necessarily going without it, but just adjusting how much you have or adjusting the way you make it, that kind of thing. And then as far as the persecution thing I was talking about earlier of people who are, standing up for truth and speaking out and things like that. Some of the things that I have been doing, I have a different channel on YouTube that deals with different things, but I have a backup channel. I back up my videos over to Odyssey. I also have a channel on Rumble. So you also always have a secondary place to fall in case, you get shut down on one platform. You have another platform you can go to. There is a financial safety net that we have in case, we get dinged or we get hit with a loss of income, a side income that's lost that, you kind of are relying on that. So we have some things in place for that. We also have a support network, for those that say it's obviously if it's a church, you can support each other, to speak the truth and standing up. But some of the biggest things, the way to be prepared is just basically knowing what your rights are. Here in America, we have them and they're protected by our Constitution. So know what they are. And so that when someone comes along and is trying to say, hey, you can't do that, you can just slap them right back on the wrist and say, yes, I can, because I have the right to do that because of title this and code that. And, and also knowing not just, so your rights, but also for me, knowing the truth. I know my Bible. So that when someone comes along, this same kind of thing, hey, you can't say that, you can't speak about this, or you can't, you can't go to church and worship. I can say, yes, I can, because I have this right. It's protected by this code and this thing. I was been doing that for the past 2-3 years. Just, mandates aren't laws. Y'all say it with me. Mandates are not laws. And so know what they are on your federal level, your state level, your local level, and getting to know the people, get to know your sheriff, get to know some of these people in the community that are important, so that when, you've got people in your corner. So anyway, that's some of the stuff that I've been doing over the past few years. A lot of it stems because I'm a homeschool mom. And I've been doing this for going on 18 years, and I've had to know my rights, and I've had to make sure that I'm prepared if ever one day I was going to get a knock on my door from someone. I'm ready to defend my family before they even come in my house. So anyway, that's what I'm doing.
Thank you for all of that, Sassy Gal. And I did see in the comments, Brandon's mentioning fasting. Yeah, fasting's a good thing.
Oh,
too.
yes.
That's something we do in our family. We do the fasting, intermittent fasting, and we also do stress testing.
Yes.
To be, because Brandon was saying to be used to being uncomfortable. So that's a neat
get comfortable
point.
with being uncomfortable. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Nene, how are you doing?
Hi. I popped out for a second. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think, trying to keep ahead of the game on the prices, and because right now I've kind of run out of room. I think Prepping by Faith was saying she'd kind of run out of room too. So I'm trying to use up the preps, and circulate through them. But definitely if I have a something that, hold on just a minute, something that I can find, on sale at, I try to grab those, because the next time you go, it could be, double in price. And making, homemade things at home, try to become more frugal in things that you make. And also, if you have family members that are on board, or even friends, everybody has a different skill. Maybe, somebody that can do automotive on your vehicle. Maybe, somebody that can do plumbing in your kitchen or bathroom, or, just so many different levels that different people, know and try to form those in your circle.
Thank you.
I gotta go, guys.
Okay, thanks for being here.
Bye, Nene.
Bye, Nene.
Oh, did we move around? Oh, well.
Oh
Perfect.
yeah, we all shuffled. That was cool.
Let's dance. Pete, do you want to?
Sure. I'm not sure if I'm next. I think I am. Actually, Leah hit it right on the head. I've mentioned it in my own videos. I know she has. Staying on a budget. If you look at your household like a business, right? You want to have the right inventory. You got to rotate it. If you're sending out more money than you're taking in, your company, your business will go under. It's the same thing for a household. And it's easier said than done. Budgeting money out of your check to pay down debt systemically, as opposed to kind of, oh my God, I got to pay this and that, and you kind of freak out. That's a better way to do it. Plan out what you plan to do, what your budget is, understand what it is. And as several of you have pointed out, if you're buying things and they're expensive, try and find a way to borrow someone else's money. If you have that solar generator and it's, $1,000, well, if Amazon will let you do no interest payments for 5 months, as opposed to putting out the $1,000 all at once, that might be a way to go if you think you can manage it. But any purchase, you got to think it through, and you got to make sure it's the right thing to do. Don't try and keep up with someone else. Their situation may be different.
Yep.
And bring it home. Take everything home. Bring your groceries home. Cook it home. It's way cheaper to watch a movie on the television and eat and drink at the house than it'll ever be going to a restaurant or a theater. You can lose $100 in a night easy going to a theater and just have popcorn and soda. So just think through what you're doing. And again, look at your household like a business. If you're sending more out than you're taking in, you've got something wrong. Your priorities are shifted.
Thanks. Prepper Dog.
Keep stacking. No. But beyond that, I would say, first of all, spiritual is first. Your spiritual preparedness, keep that going, of course.
Mhm.
And as far as what we're doing, connecting with your community as much as possible. I know Ms. Dawg and I have connected into a community church close by, and so that's going well so far. As far as on the economic side, pay down as much debt as you can. Like Prepping by Faith said, it's not like you can just snap your fingers and it's all gone, but do what you can as far as paying down as much as possible, to make it a little easier on yourself, especially with interest rates as they keep going up, and they're going to go up again, next month looks like. So also garden. If you don't have a garden, think about that. I mean, even if it's just very small, start out small. Mrs. Dawg has stuff started indoors already, and spring and summer we really crank it up. She's already planning things and using spreadsheets and graphs and drawings and all kinds of things. She has mesmerized me already. No, she's already got plans for things. So whatever you can do in that. And I know a garden doesn't solve everything and doesn't replace, it's not like you can, that's not all of your food, but it really does help as far as supplementing what you're having to buy at the store and with the prices that keep going up. So whatever you can do with that will help. Food preservation is another thing we're trying to increase more, and keep on top of your automobile and home maintenance. If you own a home, there's always something going on. Even if you don't have a house payment, you have property taxes, you have maintenance costs, you have appliances that are going here and there. We had like 3 appliances go out within a couple of months, and it's like, well, dang, I thought we were doing pretty good, getting some savings, and poof,
Mhm.
So get to a point to where you don't have to go into debt to take care of an emergency. That should be the goal. And then security. What can you do to improve your security? I'm not saying it has to be hardened like Fort Knox, but what can you do as far as just improving to be a harder target? You know, even from a physical standpoint, physical fitness, it's just very basic self-defense, personal security tools. What can you do in that area to improve or practice? And for your home, and when you're out, and just always thinking about our situational awareness. So those are the things we've been working on.
That's really awesome. Thanks for telling us, and also all the best to Mrs. Dawg. Digital, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I actually kind of wanted to piggyback off of what Prepper Dog was talking about with security, and you know, just another thing to think about is you know, thinking about things like network preparedness for your home, making sure that you know that your like network security is you know all up to date and you know well versed to protect against these bad actors. You know, using things like Tor browser to you know make sure that you're you know like private online when you're you know doing all this online stuff. And I know you know like some people were talking about you know like the central bank digital currency, and you know that's just like another reason to kind of take ownership of your digital privacy. You know, and I've even made like a video called "Delete Your Digital Presence," and you know, just doing stuff like that will make it that much harder for these bad actors to you know do things like steal your identity and all that kind of stuff. Besides that, you know, the normal stuff, you know, just like everyone else was talking about, I've been kind of working on growing more food at home, working on alternative energy and water sources because you know it's getting really I don't want to say like hard or dangerous, but you know it's getting to a point where we need to think about making you know making our own ways making our own stuff like at home. So you know like for example I have a harvest right freeze dryer going like 24/7, and just even with that you have to think about not only you know like the price that goes along with that, but you also have to think about certain things when you're buying certain preparedness items. So like a harvest right freeze dryer, you know, you can use that and you can use that to freeze dry all of your food, but how are you going to store the excess water that you'll need to actually, you know, like reconstitute all of that food? Um, uh, Other things that you know I've been kind of looking at is the you know like right to repair type stuff. Just learning how to repair you know any sort of main item that I have at my home, just in case it breaks, buying additional parts for it, and you know just learning that kind of stuff because I don't think a lot of people know how to you know do like simple stuff like fix their own car, right? And it's something that's going to take a lot of people off guard when something happens and they really can't do anything about it. So you know it's you should learn now if you haven't already. And then finally, just remember to take time to you know remember your morale. You know you can you don't have to think of everything you know being all like doomsday and stuff. Just remember to you know have things that you'll need to you know raise your morale, whether it be you know like board games or you know comfort foods, things like that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
Those are some great ideas, and it added a lot. New stuff still coming out. That's great. Hey, Thor Haven Farm, thanks for
How's it
dropping
going?
in.
Hopefully
Good to see
everyone's
you.
doing amazing tonight.
Hello.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yes.
So,
Thor!
On the topic of things we're doing for preparedness, X24, do you want to add a few things?
Yeah. What I've been doing recently is doing some work to my house, trying to get it ready for cold weather. However, our cold weather was only just like 2 days, and it was like 80 degrees the last 3 days and today. So I don't really know what I'm getting colder weather ready for. But anyway, I've been doing some work on the house to get that dialed in, and we actually did start a garden recently. But of course, you know, the freezing temperature killed it, so we'll have to start back up in the spring. But we did get it set up, so at least now all we'd have to do is plant. The other thing that I wanted to touch on that I've been doing a lot of research on and I've been spending a lot of time on is I just opened up a business, and one of the main reasons I did is because what that would allow me to do is take my personal income and actually it'll save me some on my taxes this year coming up when I file them. So I might be too late for some of you guys because you'll be opening it up in this year. But this year, that might be something you want to think about doing. So that way you can also hold on to some of your money throughout the year, because a lot of people don't know that half of the tax code is written for civilians and like just average people. And then the other half of the tax code is written for corporations and businesses. So I would definitely do some research on that kind of stuff and do your best to take advantage of as much as possible, because it isn't very expensive at all. I mean, it was like $200 to $400 to open up an LLC, and there's so many advantages you can get from that. So please get educated, because it can save you a lot of money. And that's not any sort of advice, that's just a recommendation, especially for those of you who have pretty established channels already. That might be something you should think about. And so that's what I've been doing, and that's something I'll continue to do until I figured it out. And of course, I'll be doing other things prepping related as well to backpack off of that income. That's one of the preps, and then of course, you know, just adding to my stack that I have. That's what I've been doing recently. So
Cool. Thanks a lot. And we've got Thorhaven Farm, who just had a video about Q&A about Highland cows and many other great content that he's put out, another Canadian channel. Well, since you've jumped in, can you tell us a little bit what's on your radar at this point?
For sure. We're planning for, again, this spring, because like winter we can't do much here. We're got a few feet of snow, so trying to do anything is always hard. But we want to work on an irrigation system for our greenhouse, make sure that's easier for us to use. We need to hook up water going out to the cows so that that's easier, so we don't have to drag a hose every time we want to water the cows. We got to finish the fencing so we can get our goats in. That'll basically allow us to not have to go to the grocery store anymore for milk, dairy, cream, which is a big one for us. So we haven't gone to the grocery store for meat in 2 years. And, you know, we do buy the odd veggie, but very rarely. So our main things going to the grocery store are bread every now and then, snacks for the kids for school, and then milk and cereal. So a lot of we're going to probably expand the garden as well. We'll probably order a whole bunch of compost because we're on sand, so we need to continue to always improve our soil as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Really great channel. Definitely check it out, guys. I dropped the link in the chat. In terms of us, we are working hard on the indoor garden before we move outside. So we have put up a few videos about the indoor garden. To echo what a lot of you guys are saying, we're trying to just live with less, just be happy with less, buy less, and we're just trying to round out our skills and supplies and fill in any gaps that we might have. We are going to wrap it up here soon. I just wanted to kind of open it up if anyone has anything that they would like to add or bounce ideas off of what's already been discussed.
I did want to add one thing, if that's okay, Vancity. Oh, sorry, Alpine.
That's okay.
So I just wanted, to mention this to everyone, try to focus on what's good for your family. I don't care what any of us brings or shares. If it isn't something that's going to enhance your life and it doesn't really pertain to you, don't try to force a round peg into a square hole. We all come from different backgrounds and experiences. And so our view of the world is sort of, shaped and framed around that, and sometimes we don't see everything as clearly as we should. So always do your own research and understand that what we are sharing comes from a place of love and wanting to help, but use it as a template and not as an absolute. Only you know what is going to work for you and your situation and what's going to be best for your family.
That's great.
I would like to respond to a question by, I think it was, I'm trying to look here, Aloha Joy. Is that it? How much time do we really have to prep? So let me start off by saying, remember that there was one of the 7 churches was Thessalonica. And so one of the questions they asked Paul was, if Christ comes tomorrow, believers have died, so what's going to happen to them? So if you look back at the first century, Christians believed that Christ was coming again in the first century, and we've been waiting for the second coming for 2,100 years. Then I spent 21 years as an intelligence analyst. So the one thing I can tell you is A happens and then B happens. So you can take a look at B and say, in order for B to happen, A has to happen first. But if A happens, there's no guarantee that B is going to happen. So we can take a look at all the indicators and we can say A has happened, B has happened, when C is going to happen, and even if C is going to happen is no assured. So all we can say is we are closer to C than we are to A, but when that's going to happen, it's everybody's best guess. And that's why we in the intelligence community get such a bad rap, is because we can't give you a definitive answer. All we can say is there are indicators, one must precede the other, but once the predecessor occurs, there's no guarantee that there's going to be a successor event.
Great point.
I just like to point dying here. I just like to point out too, not all of your preps have to be store-bought in the basement. You can have preps walking around in your backyard. So get some chickens if you have even a little yard. Get some chickens to have some eggs for you. If you're harvesting rabbits, get some rabbits. They're so easy to keep and provide a ton of meat for you. So those are some options as well.
I like it. Prepping by Faith, you're next to the coffee cup. That's awesome. That was designed by Creative Redundancy for the channel. There's infinite drinking coffee was the thought behind that concept there. So thank you, Creative Redundancy, for helping with that. Any other things? Just love to open it up to the floor.
Yeah, I have something. Just don't be, because I like I said, I know a lot of people are, kind of afraid of technology nowadays. And there are a lot of things that are happening, in the technology sector that obviously people don't like. But for some things, like technology is just the tool in order to help us, with whatever it is that we need to do. So, if we can utilize it to, just help us out with our preparedness needs, then, definitely go for it. But at the same time, like again, for example, the like central bank digital currency type stuff. I personally don't agree with that. And, you know, if that's something that you don't agree with, then, you know, kind of do whatever it is that you can to, you know, to not move forward on that, if you can.
Yeah. I see a comment here from Brandon. Start your preps with your mindset. Start with your health. Doesn't cost you a coin. Agree. We've had videos about the most important prep, and from this channel anyway, the most important prep was mindset and health, fitness, well-being. Of course, fitness isn't accessible to everybody. There's challenges. There's disabilities and things like that. But if it is accessible, you know, getting out and doing what we can to our own ability is going to make adapting to any situation a lot easier. Your food is going to be, you know, you're going to just feel so much better with everything and be able to survive a lot easier. So those are definitely things that we agree with, and I'm sure most people on the panel, the mindset comes up a lot in these videos that I watch, because I binge watch all of your channels. So I've definitely heard other people talking about that. Does anyone want to talk any more about the mindset piece? No? That's okay.
Yeah, I'll mention something. So I actually do think that mindset is the most important prep, because your mind is very powerful, a lot more powerful than you think. And it's very easy to fall into negativity and into depression, and that can lead to all types of different things. A lot of people often get sick. A lot of people get suicidal. A lot of people, I mean, there's endless amounts of things that it will take you to. But one of the things that people don't gravitate towards is like positivity and trying to do that reverse effect thing. So that's something that we should probably pay close attention to, because a lot of times that'll happen and you won't even realize it. And so something to keep in mind definitely is to focus on that. And if you start to have those symptoms or those feelings, you should probably get out of the house. You should probably take a walk. You should probably change something up about your lifestyle or your schedule that'll allow you some time around other people, maybe hopefully somebody that'll bring you up. And I think that's really important to talk about, because I do feel like sometimes you can feel alone out there. I'm sure there's other people even here on this panel that might relate to this. Sometimes it feels like there's nobody there, or maybe you feel like a bother if you reach out to somebody. But I think we should do our best to stay on top of that, because your mind can take you wonderful places, but it can also lead you down the wrong path as well. So yeah, be mindful of that.
Alpine, can I graciously solicit a plug while we're on the subject of minds?
Please.
For those of you who don't know, there was another panelist that was invited to be here tonight, and he opted out, and he was over in the comments as a spectator, and that's Prepping with Sarge. He is a therapist for police department, fire department, and everything else. So all he deals with is basically people who have undergone enormous amounts of stress and trauma. And this coming Saturday at 8 o'clock, I'm interviewing him, and the subject is going to be, how do we conduct mental first aid on other people in a post-traumatic or post-apocalyptic, whatever you want to call it, society? So how can we help others after whatever happens? Now, there's a second part of that, and that there's an inference there that is that we are capable of administering that first aid. So the other part of that question is, what can we do to prepare ourselves and what can we do to heal ourselves so that we can be a healer for others? So those are the 3 questions we're going to have Saturday night at 8 o'clock on my channel if you'd care to join us.
I'm a mental health first aid responder. So I'll come and be watching on your chat.
I work
Yeah,
in mental
Sassy
health
Gal.
also.
Yes. Yes, so much great information from you guys. I've heard videos and interviews about those topics. And what I'll do is after this in the actual comments, if anyone is catching this on the replay, I will put the link to your upcoming interview in there so that people can go check that out. So is there anything anyone would like to say in closing? We are going to wrap it up. I did want to say thank you to each and every person who's been in the chat. I've been looking at it from here and there, but I'm going to go back and read and learn from the suggestions, ideas people have in there. And thanks to everyone who was moderating, all the friends that were invited that couldn't either physically fit on the panel or were busy doing other things. We'll catch you on the next one. And then, of course, thanks to all the guests on the panel for your wonderful insight and sharing with us. I know you're busy people. Any final comments at all?
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for doing this.
Yes,
Yep,
thank you
we
very much.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Good being
Thanks
here.
for allowing me to be with this great group of people.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was nice to see everybody. It really was. I know I've been kind of distant, and I just have been having a lot going on, and I hope to get back into it here pretty soon. But again, I appreciate you having me, and it was nice seeing everybody. It's nice to talk about these things again, because it's been a little while since I've even kind of put my mind on it, you know.
Just keep doing something every day too.
Yeah.
If you put one fence post in every day at 10 feet, that's 300 and what? 56, 52. It's a big field anyway.
Great.
All right. Well, of course, all the links to the channels are in the description box, and Thorhaven's channel is in the comments. So definitely join up. You will not be disappointed. All right. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye, and we will end this panel. See you next time.
Later, guys.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Stay safe out there.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye.